Transfer deadline day, transfer rumours everywhere, and some clubs are under a little bit more pressure than others, but there will be a lot of transfers and a lot of money spent in the Premier League today. But at last, the Alexander Isak transfer saga is coming to an end. He's off to Liverpool in a deal worth up to 130 million. I'm just glad that this is finally coming to a conclusion. I think Liverpool are getting a top player. I think Newcastle are getting a very good transfer fee for him. I think both parties win in the end. It's just the process. It's got a bit ugly. I don't like to see it. It makes me uncomfortable. So I'm pleased this is happening. Liverpool are finally getting their man, and Newcastle are finally getting their man. Wissa is on his way to St James's Park. A very expensive price tag though, £55 million. Brentford have played hard all summer with Newcastle. Wissa's wanted Newcastle from day one. Newcastle's wanted Wissa. That's been no secret whatsoever. I thought the bids worth 40 million were fair, if anything, on the chunky side already. But this deal is worth £55 million. It feels expensive. It is expensive. But Newcastle have little option. It's deadline day. They want their man. They need another striker. They got Voltamad in. That's a good signing, but they need another one. And Brentford know how much Newcastle are getting for Alexander Isak. So negotiation-wise, Newcastle were not in a great position. But 55 million, my word, that's expensive. He's just turned 29. He's still got that it's 1 year on his Brentford contract, but they've got an option for a further year. So it's basically a 2-year contract. But Brentford, I think, have had Newcastle's pants down a little bit. Newcastle are getting a good striker, don't get me wrong. But 55 million, that's expensive. Finally, some big moves at Villa Park, and this would be one of my favourite signings of the summer, I think. Harvey Elliot on loan with an option or an obligation to buy for 35 million. That price tag feels light. The price tag all summer has been 40 million, and Liverpool have a buyback clause, or 50 million to not have one. So to get him for 35 million on loan with a 35 million pound option, I think this is good business for Aston Villa. I'm a huge Harvey Elliot fan. He does need to leave Liverpool. His game time has been restricted already. We're seeing it this season against Arsenal on yesterday. When he played Arsenal yesterday, didn't come off the bench. When he came on against Newcastle, a handful of minutes left. When he came on against Bournemouth, 5-10 minutes left. He wasn't getting much game time, and that's off the back of a really good summer with England under 21s when they won the Euros. So he had to leave. He had to go somewhere. And I think Villa Park's a really good destination for him. European football's there. You'd imagine he'll go into the starting 11. I watched Villa yesterday. It looks a bit stale, a bit bland at the minute. So they need a bit of excitement. Elliot can give them goals, can give them assists. And I can imagine him fitting in with the way that Emery plays football. I think this is a good signing for Villa. And I think this is a good signing for Harvey Elliot. Martinez, though, he's under a bit of pressure now, isn't he? Didn't play for Villa over the weekend, and I think he was assuming he'd be going to Man United, but they don't want him. They've got a different goalkeeper instead. So now it looks like Emi Martinez will be off to Turkey. Waved goodbye to the Villa fans at the end of the season, expecting to leave. It's come to transfer deadline day, and it looks like he will go where he can. Possibly Galatasaray. Fenerbahce is unlikely because they're signing Ederson of Manchester City. So Martinez, he's kind of ruined it for himself. I think had he played yesterday and not moved, I think it would have been all right. But because he didn't participate, I think it's turned a lot of the Villa fans against him, and an exit feels inevitable. It's just that he's not going to get that transfer I think he was perhaps expecting. Speaking of the Man U goalkeeper, Seny Lamens. Now, I don't know him. Heard of him, but only because other people rate him highly, from Royal Antwerp. Man U have been screaming out for a goalkeeper. It was quite worrying how late they've left getting in a new goalkeeper. It's already cost them points this season as far as I'm concerned. Is he any good? Truth be told, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen him play. Heard of him, never seen him play. Nelson, Reece Nelson of Arsenal, looked like he was going to be going to Crystal Palace, but he's chosen to go to Brentford on loan. He had multiple offers overseas as well as within the Premier League, and he's picked Brentford as his destination. I think this is a good signing. I spoke about Reece Nelson the other day. Good player, just unlucky with injuries. I think Brentford are getting a good player here on loan as well. Low risk. It makes sense. Good signing. As for Fulham, they were expected to sign Kevin. The deal between Fulham and Shakhtar is done. It's 100% agreed. But Fulham are sort of waiting on Kevin, the player himself. He hasn't agreed terms with Fulham yet. So I think there is an expectation this will happen. But if I was a Fulham fan, I'd be getting a little bit nervous that this is their big signing of the summer and it's not been concluded just yet. Now, as a result, or it could be in addition to, but it's been reported that as a result of that delay, let's call it, Fulham are back in negotiations with Chelsea over Raheem Sterling. He's obviously someone that's just been completely cut out at Stamford Bridge. Fulham have gone back in for him. I'd imagine it would also be a low move to keep the financial costs lower because Sterling's on some generous wages at Chelsea. But they are being linked with Raheem Sterling. Spurs obviously had a bit of a blow. They missed out on Eze, then they missed out on Hincapié, who looks like he's going to join Arsenal today. Now, they did go and get Xavi Simons, so they've got over that pretty quickly. They're being linked to Moani, the PSG striker. Now, it was looking like he was going to go to Juventus. That's off. He's not going there anymore. So Spurs have made their move. PSG want an obligation within this loan move. Spurs want to loan him. PSG are insisting in an obligation as part of that. So Tottenham would have to buy him next summer. Back to Villa Park, Jadon Sancho could be joining them on loan. Aston Villa will pay 80% of his wages. Sancho has been turning down quite a few moves, actually. It sounds like Man U have accepted a few moves from the likes of Roma, but Sancho has been rejecting them. But it appears that he is keen on the move to Villa Park. I think this is a good move for Sancho. Whether it's a good move for Aston Villa or not remains to be seen. Once upon a time, a very good player at Dortmund. Sort of had the world at his feet, didn't he? But a horrible move to Man U. Then he went to Chelsea, had some okay games, had a couple of good ones. But by and large, I think you could chalk it down as a poor transfer overall going to Stamford Bridge. Maybe Villa Park will be the home he needs. I think there's a good player there. I think he just needs a cuddle. I think he needs a home. And if you can give him that, you might get the Dortmund Sancho. But it does feel like it's a long way away at this point. Worth the risk, I think, on loan, as long as they don't have to commit to anything in future, Aston Villa. But I do think Sancho, this is a good transfer for him personally. Donnarumma, it looks like he's off to Man City from PSG. I've been quite impressed by James Trafford, although City have lost a couple of games and he made the mistake against Spurs. It looked like he had a good game against Brighton despite being on the losing side. But Donnarumma is off to Manchester City. Obviously, things between himself and PSG turned sour pretty quickly by the sounds of it over the summer. They signed the other geezer from Lille, that other goalkeeper. Can't remember his name. Starts with CH. Shah. I can't remember. I can't recall his name. But Donnarumma's been available. Only 1 year to go in his contract at PSG. They've been looking to offload him. And he's away to Manchester City. About 30 million, I think, is the price tag. Although that's been queried by a few different people. As mentioned, Ederson's off to Fenerbahce. That deal is done. And lastly, and when I say lastly, there is loads more transfer news and transfer rumours. Sunderland are doing business. Bournemouth's doing business. Crystal Palace are doing business. Nearly everyone is doing business today. Every Premier League club is being linked to certain players. So I'm not going to go through them all. I'd be here all day. But I am going to follow them up over the course of the week, do transfer shows later on in the week, talking about each club's business and what I think of each club's overall business. But I'm trying to keep this transfer rumours. And the last one is Mark Gay of Crystal Palace. Absolute screamer last night against Aston Villa. Very shy, didn't want to take the plaudits. You know, Dean Henderson was trying to shove him in front of their away fans. He didn't want to do it. Looks like he's going to get his move to Liverpool, 35 million. And this might make it a little bit spicy at Crystal Palace, because at the minute, the person going in to replace him is Igor of Brighton, which is a poor replacement for him. But Glasner, after the game, very clearly said he cannot go. Gay needs to be here. I need my captain. I need Mark Gay. We cannot let him go. only a year on his contract, and I think this is where it's difficult. If you're Steve Parish, do you back your manager and let Gay walk out for free next summer? But football is still a business, and he's looking at it going, well, he's 35 million now, or he's free next summer, or we don't get ending for him next summer. So it's a difficult position for the Crystal Palace chairman, and he's opted to try and do business with Liverpool. Now, this isn't done yet, but Liverpool are willing to pay 35 million for him. Parish all summer has said he needs to sign a new deal or he needs to go. Mark Gay's comments sounded like he was okay with staying. So this one will be an interesting one. This is maybe one of the more interesting transfer rumours of the day, because the repercussions for Palace could be quite significant, and you've got to hope that Glasner will be on board with it, although I appreciate that feels very unlikely at the minute. I think this sale would be a risk for Parish. I think it'd be a risk for Crystal Palace. I think it's a great signing for Liverpool. Konate looked crap so far. There's a handful of players so far. It's only 3 games in, looked terrible this season. Konate is one of them. Not as bad as Bernardo Silva. He is reeking the Premier League out, but Konate has been stinky. So Mark Gay would be a much welcome addition to Anfield. It would make a big difference. It would be a good signing for them. For Palace, though, difficult. It's a difficult. I get it, but part of me thinks, is it worth it? Well, it is. It's worth £35 million. But if you're going to potentially upset Glasner, that's risky. But Glasner's contract expires next summer as well. So currently the manager's only got 1 year left. So very, very difficult position to be in. Anyway, there you go. That's your latest big Premier League transfer rumours. And I've missed out some other big ones as well. But I'll be back tomorrow to catch up with you all and to discuss what the action from the Premier League over the weekend. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're new to the channel, if you made it to the end, please do subscribe. Also drop a like on the video as well by clicking thumbs up. I'll catch up with you in a bit.